You ever pay 50 grand for a seat you don't even get to sit in? Yeah. That was me. Geneva bound, business class, champagne in the lounge level, the works. First international trip I'd planned since the divorce. The trip that was supposed to remind everyone, myself included, that I wasn't just the guy who paid bills and showed up for birthdays with envelopes. I was the one who made shit happen. But let me back up. I booked the trip 6 months out. Switzerland. Glacier Express, Zurich, Interlaken. First-class trains, hotels that had robes softer than my last relationship, and an itinerary with just enough space for family bonding, if that was still a thing we did. My idea was simple: take my mom, my sister, and her boyfriend. Yeah, her boyfriend. I was being generous. Thought I'd play the good guy for once. You're always so stiff, my mom had said last Christmas. You should do something spontaneous. This wasn't spontaneous. This was strategic. A grand gesture to stitch together a family that frayed every time we got within arm's length of each other. I covered everything. Flights. Hotels. Tours. Even the chocolate-making class my mom said would be cute. $50,000 in change. And 3 days before the flight, I get a text. Not a call. A text. From Mom, quick change. Don't be upset. Gave your seat to Jeremy. You'll understand. Love you. Jeremy. My sister's boyfriend. You ever feel your stomach just drop? Like a cartoon elevator falling out from under you? I called. Straight to voicemail. Texted. What the hell is this? She replied with 2 words, talk later. Talk later? I paced my kitchen for 40 minutes, staring at my suitcase. I'd bought a new travel kit. Custom luggage tags. A parka rated for -30 degrees. I even canceled a date with a woman I actually liked because this trip means something. Apparently, it meant something very different to them. The next morning, I showed up at the house. Yeah, the house I paid the mortgage on after Dad died and left it to Mom as long as she lives. My key still worked. That was a mistake. They were already packing. Jeremy was in the living room, holding my Switzerland guidebook. I stared at him. You taking my seat? I asked flatly. He smiled. Smiled. It just made more sense. More sense. Mom walked in wearing the travel vest I got her last birthday. The one with the hidden passport pocket. Sweetheart, she said. It's not what you think. No, it was exactly what I thought. Your sister really wanted him to come, she added. And you've already been to Europe. Jeremy never has. I looked at my sister. Did you say anything? She shrugged. It's just a seat. It's a $50,000 seat, I snapped. Don't be dramatic. And that was the moment. The flick. The click. The internal switch. When you realize you're not even background noise in your own story. You're just the wallet. You know what? I said, stepping back. Enjoy Switzerland. Jeremy opened his mouth like he was gonna say something supportive. I shut him down with a look. That look that says you don't know the half of it, buddy. I turned to my mom. Next time you need a spontaneous gesture, ask Jeremy. Then I walked out, leaving the itinerary, the luggage, the parquet, hell, even the prepaid SIM cards I'd carefully organized in a labeled pouch sitting right there on the entry table. They left 2 days later. I didn't get a refund. But I did get something better. Part 2's gonna tell you what happened after they boarded that plane. Because I didn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I made a move they never saw coming. You ever watch a plane leave the runway and feel nothing? Not rage. Not regret. Not even that hollow gut sink you get when you realize you've been played. Just quiet. That was me in the airport parking lot, sipping gas station coffee out of spite, watching Flight LX-39 to Zurich climb into the clouds. My seat? 3A window. Lie flat. Gone. So I made a decision. I walked back into the terminal, not to complain, not to cry foul. I walked straight to the counter and said, I need the next flight to anywhere cold, quiet, and expensive. The woman blinked. Ski trip? Revenge, I said with a smile. She didn't ask more. Booked me on a flight to Iceland. Business class. I didn't flinch at the price. If I was going to be excluded from the family dream trip I paid for, I'd damn well make my own. I checked in at the retreat at Blue Lagoon. Private lagoon access. Spa staff who spoke in whispers. Silence so deep it echoed. But here's the twist. They started posting. First it was my mom, a photo of her smiling at the top of Jungfraujoch with the caption Family is everything Redheart. Family is everything, except you, right? Then my sister, a carousel of selfies, her and Jeremy in matching beanies, her and Jeremy eating fondue, her and Jeremy in my prepaid gondola reservation. I recognized the itinerary. Word for word. Frame for frame. They didn't just cut me out. They replaced me like a bad edit. On day 3, I got a text from Jeremy. No greeting. No apology. Just, did you happen to get travel insurance on the train tickets? We missed the Glacier Express. I laughed so loud the woman in the spa next to me dropped her green tea. No, Jeremy. I didn't insure your freeloading ass. I didn't reply. But I did start documenting. Photos of me in the lava fields. Me dining alone on fermented shark just to say I did. Me toasting nobody with $1,000 whiskey and captioning it. Sometimes silence is the best seat on the train. The likes rolled in. Even better? So did a DM from Claire. Claire was my ex. The one who said I was too predictable, too stable. Turns out she followed my Iceland posts. Claire, this is wild. Didn't expect you to pull something like this off. You alone? Me, not anymore. Now here's where it gets spicy. While my family was trying to salvage a trip built on betrayal, I was reconnecting with someone who once walked away because I was too safe. Now she saw what safety looks like with Bite. They thought they stranded me. I was just getting started. They came back sunburned and smug. My mom sent a text the night before their return. Can you pick us up from the airport? Long trip, we're exhausted Redheart. No apology. No mention of the stunt they pulled. Just a heart emoji, like I was still the chauffeur of this emotional clown car. I left her on read. Let Jeremy carry the bags. I waited until the next morning. Then I showed up at her house around 9 a.m., just as they were unpacking, mid-squabble over a suitcase zipper. My mom opened the door in her fuzzy robe like nothing had happened. Oh good, you're here, she said, stepping aside. Jeremy, can you grab the gifts for your uncle? I didn't move. I'm not here to carry anything, I said. She froze. Looked back at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Maybe I had. I'd never used that tone with her before. Calm. Final. You okay? She asked, that fake concerned voice she uses when she's cornered. You gave away my seat, I said. On a trip I paid for. You didn't ask. You didn't warn. You just handed it over like it was a dinner roll. She blinked. Twice. You ever notice how liars always blink twice? I didn't think you'd mind, she said. You're so independent. Independent. That's mom code for disposable. You didn't think, I said. That's the only part one agree with. Jeremy walked in, holding a snow globe of the Matterhorn. Hey man, we got you something. I took it. Shook it. Watched the glitter swirl. Cool, I said. I've got something too. I pulled out a folder. Laid it flat on the counter. My mom tilted her head like a dog hearing static. "What's this?" she asked. "Receipts," I said. "Full itemized list. Flights. Hotels. Meals. Transfers. Tips. The works." Jeremy's eyebrows climbed. "You're billing us?" "No," I said. "I'm offering you the opportunity to make this right." My mom looked like she'd swallowed a pine cone. "You can't be serious." I stared at her, not flinching. "You excluded me from my own gift." That wasn't just disrespect. That was betrayal dressed up as logistics. Silence. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh honey, don't be dramatic. It's just money." That's when I knew she still didn't get it. Probably never would. So I gave her the real gift. "I've updated my will," I said. The room went still. No more joint ownership of the lake house. No more assumption you'll retire off my generosity. You chose a side when you gave away my seat. I'm just formalizing it. Jeremy set the snow globe down. Carefully. Like it might explode. "You're overreacting," my sister said from the hallway. "It wasn't that deep." I turned to her. "You didn't speak up. You didn't offer to swap seats. You didn't even text." "I didn't think you'd care," she muttered. "You didn't think." That's the theme here. I walked out. Calm. No slam, no storm off. Just closed the door with the finality of someone done being used. They thought I was the wallet. Turns out I was the foundation. And they just learned what happens when the foundation walks. 3 weeks later, I was eating raclette in a mountain chalet with strangers who treated me better than my blood ever did. Let me explain. After I nuked the family dynamic with one legal folder and a calm goodbye, I didn't just go back to my routine. I relocated it. Swapped Sunday dinners for ski weekends. Replaced empty phone calls with full conversations. It started with Claire. Remember Claire? The ex who'd ghosted when life got too predictable? Yeah, that one. She'd seen the Iceland photos, slid into my DMs like she never left. Said, "You look different. Good different." I said, "I am different." She replied with an invite, a cabin trip with friends in Chamonix. I booked the flight before the text bubbles even stopped bouncing. And here's the kicker, they loved me. Not tolerated. Not tolerated with an eye roll. Loved. By night 2 I was teaching Max how to pair whiskey with snowmelt and helping Elise pick songs for her engagement playlist. By day 3, I'd been dubbed the mountain dad of the group. Not because I was old, but because I actually listened when people spoke. Novel concept, apparently. And Claire? She wasn't performing. No tight smiles. No editing herself for approval. We had a moment on the balcony where the air was cold enough to bite and she whispered, "I always thought you were too steady." Turns out that's what I needed. I kissed her. Not for nostalgia. Not for closure. But because she said it with the kind of honesty you don't get when people still think you owe them something. Meanwhile, back home, my real family was unraveling. My sister called once. No voicemail. Then my mom tried the guilt route. "You're really not going to be there for my birthday?" Nope. Because I was in the Alps, toasting Claire's dad with a vintage he said tasted like a fireplace having a memory. And that night, Claire's little niece curled up next to me during movie hour and asked, "Are you gonna come back next year too?" I didn't cry. But I felt something crack open. I was home. Just not where they expected. You ever get a certified letter from your own mother demanding reconciliation in exchange for future inheritance? That's how this part starts. Not with a phone call. Not with remorse. A letter mailed, not emailed, like that somehow makes it more sincere. Legal paper, formal language, and the kicker? A paragraph about family dignity followed by an underlined clause that said, refusal to engage in restorative dialogue may result in re-evaluation of all estate planning and end-of-life directives. Translation: we replaced you on vacation, but you're still expected to show up for the funeral tour. Let's rewind, because this one hits different. It had been 2 months since Switzerland. 2 months since they touched down full of Toblerone and lies, and I walked out of their lives with my spine straight for the first time in decades. During that time, I'd moved. Not to spite them, though let's be honest, it didn't hurt, but because I was tired of living 5 miles from people who treated me like a backup generator. I bought a place upstate. Big windows. Pine smell. A deck that creaked in the morning like it was whispering old stories. I didn't tell them. Didn't post about it. Just packed and left like a ghost that finally decided it didn't owe anyone a haunting. They found out through Claire. Yeah, Claire. We were something now. Not labels, not Facebook official. Just solid. She was the one who told me quietly, during a rainstorm, that my sister had messaged her. Your brother's acting like a stranger. He needs to remember who his real family is. Tell him mom's not well. The guilt pitch. Always the same hook. They dangle a crisis and wait for you to crawl back under the guise of care. Claire didn't forward the full message. She just looked at me and said, "Do you want to respond?" I didn't. But I did take out a journal. First page, ways they tried to break me. List got long fast. The letter came a week later. The tone wasn't desperation. It was entitlement. You ever read something so backwards you have to walk around the house just to keep your brain from short-circuiting? It opened with, "This family has always supported you." Supported me? I paid the mortgage. Covered holidays. Funded birthdays. Paid for her bridge dental work and Jeremy's traffic lawyer when he forgot to mention his suspended license. It went on. We didn't think your reaction to the Switzerland misunderstanding would be so disproportionate. Disproportionate. They gave away my seat. My trip. My role. And called it a misunderstanding. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. The meals. The safety net. The emotional mop. So I drafted a reply. Not a rage letter. Not a rant. Just a clean, clipped message with no room for fantasy. Dear Mom. You gave away more than a seat. You gave away your son's trust. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a mirror. One that showed me exactly where I stood, outside the frame. I'm not interested in restorative anything. Not because I'm bitter. But because I've finally tasted peace. You don't get to cash in on DNA when you've overdrafted the relationship. Consider this a re-evaluation of my own estate planning. You're not included. Sincerely. The man who paid for everything and sat nowhere. I didn't mail it. I framed it. Hung it in the new house, right next to a photo from Iceland, the one with me waist deep in a geothermal pool, middle fingers up to the mist, grinning like a man who'd finally stopped asking to be seen. You ever walk into your old coffee shop and hear your name being whispered like it's an urban legend? That's how I found out the family was trying to spin the story. It started with a barista new guy, maybe 22, sleeve tattoo and a nervous energy that reminded me of my younger self. He took one look at my name on the card and said, "Hey, are you the brother that ditched his family in Europe?" I didn't flinch. Just smiled, slow. Depends who's telling it. He backpedaled fast. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I just heard, well, never mind. I let him off the hook, tipped $5 on a $3 coffee, and walked out. But the seed was planted. So I did what anyone would do when their name becomes a myth. I followed the trail. Turns out, my sister had been doing interviews. Not podcasts. Not press. Just whispers at PTA meetings and backyard wine circles. Suburban PR campaigns. You know the type. She painted the story like this: I was controlling. I abandoned the family over one disagreement. I took back gifts and ghosted everyone without explanation. And the best line? He was never good with emotions. Always thought money solved everything. That one hit different. Because I wasn't mad about the spin, I was mad she knew the truth and still fed them lies. So I made a move. I called my friend Nora. She's a writer. Freelance, sharp, surgical with her sentences. I said, I want to tell my side. But not for them. For me. She said, you want blood or clarity? Both, I said. In Helvetica. We met at a wine bar, and I told her everything. From the $50,000 betrayal to the airport ghosting to the certified guilt trip in my mailbox. She wrote it like a short story. Changed names. Changed places. But left the bones untouched. Called it The Man Who Bought a Family Vacation and Lost the Family. We published it on Medium. Quietly. No promo. No taglines. Just a drop in the internet ocean. And yet, it blew up. Thousands of reads. Hundreds of comments. And somewhere around the second thousand share, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in 6 months. Mo. I didn't answer. A few hours later, a voicemail. I played it once. You've embarrassed us. What happened to loyalty? To forgiveness? That word again. Forgiveness. The same word she used when Dad left. When she let my sister live rent-free while I covered her medical bills. When she cried on the phone that one Christmas and asked for help just until the new year. Funny how forgiveness is always a one-way street until you shut it down. So I left the voicemail where it belonged, in the cloud. Let it drift around with all the other ghosts who want access but not accountability. The fallout wasn't loud. It was quieter than that. More like the silence after a detonation. The kind that rings in your ears and makes you realize nothing will ever sound the same again. You ever get a message so unexpected your hands shake just trying to open it? That was me. Tuesday, 11:43 p.m. Claire was asleep, soft breathing beside me, the kind that says safe. Fire dying in the hearth. My phone lit up and there it was. Can we talk? Not for Mom. For me. Amanda. Amanda. My sister. The same sister who watched my seat handed over like an extra dinner roll. The same sister who smiled through fondue in my itinerary, who said, "Don't be dramatic," when I confronted them. Who hadn't spoken a full sentence to me in 3 months. I stared at the message. My first instinct was to delete it. Second instinct? Forward it to Nora and let her write a follow-up article called Too Little, Too Late. But I didn't do either. I just typed. Be here by 10. Come alone. She showed up at 9:58. Of course she did. Amanda's never been late a day in her life, just morally. She stood on the porch with that same expression she used to have when she broke Mom's vases and I took the fall. Half defiant, half expectant. I opened the door. No hug. Shoes off, I said. Not because I cared about the floors. Because I wanted her to know the rules had changed. We sat at the kitchen island. Her eyes darted around, clocking the space. The lack of photos. The framed letter on the wall she tried not to stare at too long. I read it, she said finally, voice soft. The Medium Post. I raised an eyebrow. Did you like the part where I called you a replacement? She winced. I deserved that. Silence. Not heavy, not charged. Just loaded. She pulled a small envelope from her bag. Plain white. No logo. No handwriting. I didn't touch it. I wanted to tell you something. Before someone else does. Now my stomach tightened. Because when people say that, they're not about to compliment your haircut. She swallowed. Jeremy didn't want to go to Switzerland. I laughed once. Hard. Sure fooled me. No, she said. He didn't want to take your seat. Mom did. I blinked. She said it didn't make sense to bring the one who always does his own thing. Said it was time you learned what being left out feels like. I stood. Walked a slow lap around the counter just to keep from saying something I couldn't unsay. She said that? Amanda nodded. I didn't stop her. I didn't agree. But I didn't stop her either. I stared at her. Really stared. For the first time since we were kids. When she'd skin her knees and scream like the world was ending until Mom rushed to her, and I'd be told to wait my turn. This is where I should have yelled. Where I should have told her to leave. Instead, I said, "Why now?" She looked down at the envelope. Then back at me. Because Jeremy's gone. He left 2 weeks ago. I didn't flinch. And Mom told me to ask you for help with the mortgage. That part made me laugh. But then Amanda leaned forward, elbows on the marble like it hurt to hold the truth. And because I miss you, she said. I miss my brother. Gut punch. Not from anger. Not even sadness. From the fact that some part of me still wanted to believe her. I picked up the envelope. Opened it. Inside, a handwritten note. Short. I'm sorry. You were always the one who showed up. And we treated you like luggage. No signature. No date. I folded it once. Set it on the counter. Walked to the fridge. Want coffee? I asked. Amanda nodded. Because sometimes forgiveness doesn't come as a speech. It comes as a cup, placed in front of someone who finally admitted what they did. You ever watch someone apologize, then realize they're only doing it to keep the lights on? That's what part 8 is about. Let's not dress it up. Mom didn't call to say sorry. She called because Amanda told her I knew. That Jeremy didn't want to go. That it wasn't some last-minute shuffle. That Mom orchestrated the entire swap like it was a casting decision in her personal soap opera. When she called, I let it ring. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. Don't say anything yet, I said. I want to see what you open with. There was a pause. The kind of silence people mistake for sincerity when it's really just them flipping through emotional flashcards. Then she launched in. Sweetheart, I think we've all made mistakes. Click. I didn't hang up. I put the phone down. On speaker. Claire sat across from me, sipping tea, eyebrow raised. Let's see if she notices, I muttered. She didn't. She kept going for 2 full minutes like she was giving a eulogy to a live audience. Only when she said, "We all feel terrible," did I pick the phone back up. Name one thing you feel terrible about, I said. Be specific. Dead air. Then, the way things turned out. Not what she did. Just how it looked. That's Mom in a sentence. I know Amanda came to see you, she added quickly, her voice tightening. She's going through a lot right now. I hope you won't hold her little choices against her. Her little choices, I repeated. Yes, well, she's younger. She doesn't always think long term. But you've always been mature. Reliable. The rock. There it was. The bait. Make me feel like the adult, so I behave like one and let them keep misbehaving. I didn't bite. Do you want something? I asked flatly. A pause. Then the real voice slipped through. Honestly? I need you to co-sign a refinance. Just to get the new rate. Your name's still attached to the property, and it'd help immensely. Of course. Of course it wasn't about healing. It was about housing. The woman who replaced me on a plane now wanted me to anchor her financial stability. You ever realize someone's love for you is directly proportional to your credit score? Let me be clear, I said, my voice razor sharp. You gave my seat away. Then you gave my story away. Now you want my signature? Why not just Photoshop it like you faked that smile on the summit? Silence. You're being dramatic, she snapped. No, I said, cold. I'm being surgical. I hung up. Claire leaned back, slow. That was brutal. No, I said. Brutal would have been signing anyway. And I would've. A year ago? I'd have said yes. Because that's who I was. The guy who bails everyone out. Who gets praised at funerals and forgotten by dinner. But now? Now I keep receipts. Emotional and financial. And hers just bounced. Part 9 is where everything comes full circle. Because she didn't take the no quietly. She made it loud. And public. And dirty. You ever open Facebook and realize your own mother has turned you into a villain in a post that starts with "I don't usually share personal things, but..." That was my Tuesday. I was mid-lunch, scrolling for a recipe Claire had sent me, when the notification popped up. You've been tagged in a post. Clicked. Scrolled. And there it was, 3,000 words of weaponized nostalgia wrapped in pastel filters and faux humility. The caption? When family turns their back on you, a mother's pain. She started it like a tearjerker. I raised my kids to value unity, love, and forgiveness. But sometimes, even your own children can break your heart in ways you never imagined. She went on to describe a cold, unforgiving son who cut contact over a seat on a plane and refused to help his aging mother refinance the house she built her life in. No names. Just enough details for anyone who knew us to know exactly who she meant. She included a photo. From 2 years ago. Me and her, arm in arm, at the lake. Before I knew what her love really cost. I stared at the post. Didn't react. Didn't comment. But the comments section? Oh, it was on fire. Old family friends. Church ladies. Even Amanda's high school art teacher chimed in. So sorry you're going through this, Carol. Kids can be so cruel these days. Sending prayers. He'll come around when he realizes blood is thicker than pride. Ungrateful generation. SMH. I took a sip of my drink. Set my phone down. And laughed. Because this was her move. Classic Carol. Paint herself as the saint, the wounded matriarch, while the rest of us are just failed drafts of the perfect child she imagined in her head. But here's where she messed up. She forgot that I still had the screenshots. Of every text. Every itinerary. The receipt for the seat she gave away. The voice memo where Amanda admitted Jeremy didn't even want to go. So I posted a reply. Just one screenshot. The receipt. $50,238. 14 luxury Switzerland group travel, paid in full by my name. Caption? This is the seat they gave away. Not just on the plane. In the family. No rage. No hashtags. Just facts. 10 minutes later, my inbox was chaos. Old high school friends. Extended cousins. Even a few of Mom's supporters DM'd to apologize. Then came Amanda. You shouldn't have posted that. She's losing it. She's the one who posted first, I replied. She just didn't expect me to have the receipts. But it wasn't about vengeance. It was about balance. Because when someone writes your story for you long enough, eventually you either take the pen back or burn the whole damn book. She called me. I didn't answer. Claire sat across from me, reading the post, shaking her head. She really thought no one would question her? She's never had to, I said. Until now. By nightfall, the post was down. Deleted. Gone. No apology. No retraction. Just digital dust. But the damage? Already done. Not to me. To her image. Because when the lie cracks, even the people who wanted to believe it start to squint. And in part 10, I get the final word. Not out of revenge. Out of peace. You ever sit on your porch, coffee in hand, sunrise bleeding over pine trees, and feel a nothing? Not numbness. Not emptiness. Just peace. That's where this ends. Or begins again. Depends how you look at it. Because when you've spent your whole life proving your worth through plane tickets, gift receipts, and biting your tongue, silence becomes revolutionary. But first, the aftermath. After I posted the receipt, after her fake sympathy tour crumbled like a bad pie crust, my mom went quiet. Not the sulky, performative silence she used to wield like a weapon. No. Gone. No texts. No calls. No flying monkeys showing up in my inbox to plead her case. Just absence. And I didn't miss her. Amanda sent one last message. I think she finally understands. I think she's scared you're really gone. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because I was gone. Not geographically. Not legally. But in every way that mattered. When someone replaces you in a seat and expects you to stand and clap from the aisle, what they're really saying is, we don't value you, just your silence. I gave them silence. But not the kind they expected. Not passive. Not agreeable. The kind that sounds like a locked door. Like a number changed. Like the last favor cashed in. Claire and I? We lasted. Not because we clung to the past, but because we outgrew it. She asked me once, months after the story went viral, if you could do it over, would you still buy the trip? And I told her the truth. No. But I'm glad I did. Because the trip showed me something no plane or postcard ever could. It showed me who claps for you when you're not funding the experience. Who defends you when your name's not written in gold foil on the itinerary. Who shows up when you're not holding everything together. And most importantly, who disappears when they can't control the narrative anymore. You want a final scene? It's this. Me, at a dinner table not made of obligation. A toast raised by people who weren't handed loyalty but earned it. And across from me? An empty seat. Not mourned. Not missed. Just not mine to fill anymore. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't reclaim the seat. It's walk away from the table entirely. That's the story. No plane crash. No revenge plot. Just one man. One seat. And the choice to never beg for it again.